All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going on a pretty fascinating journey, but it's not to some far-off place. It's a deep dive right into ourselves. We're going to be exploring the whole world of psycho-spiritual development. So let's start with this idea right here, because it really sets the stage. Think about that for a second. It completely reframes what a successful life means. It's not about what we own or what we achieve, but about how much we've grown on the inside. It's a totally different scoreboard.
So why is this kind of growth so important, so critical? Well, to really get it, the source material gives us this brilliant metaphor, the balance sheet. But, not the kind your accountant talks about.
I love this contrast. So on one side, you've got the material balance sheet, right? We start with zero things. We accumulate a bunch of stuff, and then in the end, we leave with zero things. It all goes back. But then look at the spiritual balance sheet. This tells a totally different story. The growth of our consciousness, our awareness, that's a real, lasting net gain. It's literally the only thing we actually get to keep.
Okay, so to really navigate this journey, we need a map. We got to get our definitions straight so we're all on the same page. So let's break down the key terms here.
First up, psycho. And no, this is nothing to do with horror movies, I promise. It's simply the Greek root word for everything to do with our mind, our thoughts, our feelings, our entire psychological landscape.
And then, of course, we have spiritual. This points to that other part of us, the non-material part. You could call it our spirit, our soul, that sense that there's more to us than just our physical bodies and the stuff we own.
Now here's where it gets really interesting when you put them together. Psycho-spiritual development isn't about choosing one or the other. It's about integrating them. It's this powerful idea that our psychological health and our spiritual growth are totally intertwined. You can't really have one without the other if you want to reach your full potential. They're two sides of the same coin.
Now, it's really important to draw a line here to clarify something that trips a lot of people up. The source makes a clear distinction between religion and spirituality. You can see here, religion is often framed as something external. It's about organized beliefs, rituals, a community. Spirituality, on the other hand, is presented as a much more inward-focused journey. It's that personal, direct connection you feel, that sense of purpose and peace.
So, if this is a journey, how do you travel it? What do you do? It turns out there's not just one single road. The material lays out two main paths you can take for this kind of development.
Okay, so check out these two approaches. On one side, you have the active path. This is called the way of the student. It's all about conscious inner work, studying, meditating, practicing being present. Then, on the other side, there's the passive path, the way of the saint. This one focuses outward, on selfless service to other people, on forgetting yourself in the act of helping. Two really different ways to get to the same place.
But here's the thing. No matter which path you end up on, the destination always involves this fundamental internal shift. It's all about figuring out the relationship between two huge parts of who we are, the ego and the spirit. And that shift, that's what's often called a spiritual awakening. Now, this isn't about destroying your ego. It's more about moving beyond its narrow little world. The source describes it as the moment our ego, that constant sense of I, me, mine, finally relaxes its grip, just enough for something deeper, that higher self or spirit to come through.
And man, the difference between the two is night and day. The ego is always thinking, always grasping, it's possessive. It's the part of you that says, I have a car, I have an opinion. It's constantly doing. The spirit, though, it just knows. It's calm, it's neutral, it's not trying to prove anything. It just exists in this state of pure being. Getting this difference is absolutely key to the whole process.
So this all sounds pretty profound, but let's be honest, it can be really tricky territory. This path is full of mirages and pitfalls. So let's pull out a practical guidebook for telling the difference between real growth and some common ego traps.
I mean, this is the million-dollar question, isn't it? When you're dealing with all these big abstract ideas, how can you actually be sure that what you're experiencing is genuine growth and not just something else?
Well, thankfully, the source gives us some really clear red flags, these spiritual traps. These are things that look spiritual on the surface, but they're actually just the ego playing dress-up. Things like seeing the world as good versus evil, or getting attached to a new identity as a spiritual person, or that sneaky one at the end, secretly believing you're better than other people. That's a classic sign of ego getting bigger, not of real awakening.
The real signs, on the other hand, are often much quieter. They're more subtle, and they show up in how you actually live your life. You might just notice you're less reactive to things. You feel a deeper sense of emotional well-being, even when things are tough. You find yourself naturally slowing down. Your priorities start to shift. And maybe the biggest one of all, there's just this growing, quiet sense of inner freedom. A sense of okayness with what is, no matter what's happening outside.
And that brings us to our final thought for today. The source suggests that a huge sign of maturity on this path is the ability to, quote, hold the tension of the opposites, to see life in shades of gray, not just black and white. To understand, for instance, that you can be both incredibly strong and incredibly vulnerable at the same time. So the question I want to leave you with is this. In your own life right now, can you hold two opposing truths at once?